see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane. More flames, oh no, no more snowflakes. We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid. Y'all are so fake, oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane. More flames, oh no, no more snowflakes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you folks doing tonight? Welcome back to the Fab Four with me and Sue. Amária and Alex will not be available this evening, so you'll just have us two for the next hour or so.
Yeah, the Fab half here, right?
I think so. You couldn't put me in an accountant's office, so I'm going to probably I'll trust your judgment on this.
Okay. How are you doing, Alex?
Oh, I'm as chipper as a wood chipper.
Woodchuck? Oh, okay.
Wood chipper. I don't know how much wood would a woodchuck chuck. Never mind. I'm doing mighty fine.
I've asked, but I ended up with fire starter. So what would I know? I'm doing great. I'm absolutely doing wonderful. This was a very long week, actually. Just tons of things to do. A lot of research. Definitely the bad guys keep us busy. Digital soldiers and everything. They haven't given us a day off yet.
And we're going on almost 4 years of this stuff. So, and some for other people who may be doing this for longer than that, it's been more than that. So, yeah.
I know being awake can be challenging. But it's also challenging. We got these plugs that we're going to do here. So I want to give a big shout out and thanks to iEvolveTV and Katie. Thank you so much for everything. I want to our EV radio and COC4 radio. And I also want to, thank for the sponsor of Savvy Closing Line. Savvy Closing Line, when you want to close the fit, when you want to move, when you want to do exercise, when you're going to just sit and read a book, Savvy Closing Lines fits for all shapes and sizes. All right, so we want to kind of get into what's going on this week. There's a lot of stuff going on. One of the biggest things that, pretty much big. It was big for a few days. It was definitely designed for distraction. So the whole grooming thing, the whole thing at the club, I mistakenly called it a strip club when they were showing a video of drags dancing and there was kids around and they were handing money to the dancers. And so, I said, oh my gosh, it was awful. Kids at a strip club, they shouldn't be there. Kids should be kids. And I had over 70 people give thumbs up to the guy that says, this is not a strip club. So they were more hell-bent in correcting me of what kind of establishment it is than what was going on the inside.
No, because they're perfectly accepting everything that's going on there, even though for a average Joe off the street, they're going to say most of the time that's going to be completely unacceptable and not child appropriate.
Well, and this is what they said. They actually said, well, what's inappropriate? It's just the, people dressing in costumes and dancing. And it was age appropriate music. So there's nothing going on there. And I said, what about the handing of money? I said, well, and they said, well, people on the street, musicians on the streets or whatever, they perform, people hand money all the time. What's the big deal?
Last time I checked, you don't put it into someone's undergarment.
Yeah.
while the
Well,
person is scantily clad. The only exception to that whole sentence I just said is the naked cowboy who does stuff in Times Square. But he's not doing it for a purely sexual gratification reason. He's doing it for a musical reason. It's also satirical. This is not satirical in this case.
well, in that particular video, they were physically handing money, and the person was just taking it, out of their hand from their to their hand. So it wasn't stuffing in underwear or anything in that particular one. But they said it was kind of an ice cream parlor club, and I said I don't care if it was done in a cardboard box. I actually just think that it's just not appropriate. It's just what it all represents. But somebody basically said in a very threatening tone to me that if you go into a gay bar or a trans bar and you accuse them of pedophilia, you will not make it out in one piece.
Well, then I'm not going to go to those types of establishments.
Yeah.
I'm not. The first rule when it comes to business, if you're not part of that particular clientele, you don't. You're not patronize. You're not a patron to that business. It's simple as that. It's like the reason I don't go to the women's section of any clothing store is because, well, they're not going to have the type of clothing I wear. I'm not going to go to the women's section for my shoes because last time I checked, women's shoes, by the way, have a completely different measurement than men's shoes. I have no idea why they do that. But also, I have never heard of them going up to a size men's 13.
Wow.
That's 12 or 13 depending on the maker, because apparently we can't have a standard measurement for shoes for some reason, or clothing in that matter. I mean, but anyways, I digress.
Well, for info purpose, in case people will tap on the window and want to know what my shoe size is on that one, guys, I wear 2.5 to 3.5 kids still.
And
I could play Cinderella very easily. Anyway, I know we're getting off topic here.
And also no euphemisms about shoe size. Just like that. Anyways, yeah. So with all the things that were going, I was watching this whole conversation. By the way, this was on Twitter.
Yeah,
and
I was getting drowned.
And I'm guessing you eventually pulled yourself out of the pool and just left because it was just not worth it at that point?
Well, yeah, I mean, after a while, if it's shark infested, you're just going to have to leave. I mean, I just didn't want to end up being bitten, bleeding, and ended up being food. So, there's no point in being in a pool that's just not, friendly.
No.
So it was just getting too much. I don't mind talking to people and educating people, but it was getting to the point where it was constant amount of arguing. Nobody really wanted to learn anything. It was basically, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a Nazi, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know anything. Go do some more research, get your head out of the butthole type of attitude,
Gaslighting, ad hominem, and gaslighting. Okay, cool. Last time I checked, that doesn't sound like a logical back and forth conversation. And then that's not trying to be rude or disrespectful. That's just, you don't just go and say, do your research. You go, that's incorrect, and this is what it actually is. You correct you correct it. It's like if Sue, let's say, for example, I tell you that the sky is green, right? And we look at the sky, it's a perfectly blue sky. You're going to say, no, the sky's not green. It's blue right now.
Well, yeah, if I told you that the sky is blue and then you say, no, the sky is green, you need to do your research. That's
or
the type of talk.
Like that. No, I could say, maybe it's not blue. Maybe I'm colorblind.
Yeah.
Or something. What I've noticed with this, and it's not just the grooming aspect of this whole thing, but when it comes to actually the debate of this, you can't have a simple, normal, polite, and civil conversation. Right? Everything is either you're wrong and you're a hateful person, or I'm not going to have that conversation with you.
Yeah. And that's what's causing the divide.
I like a nice.
You can't even get together and have a normal conversation. Some of them were having some conversation and they didn't believe it was grooming. It was just dancing and it was just, it was just people in costume. They just simply believe that there's no grooming, there's nothing horrible about it. But it's what that type of behavior and stuff. They said drag is not a sexual thing. So that's
Even,
what they believe in. So
even even though usually it's done for sexual gratification reasons.
you know,
Uh,
I think
but,
it's just that what it represents is what it bothers me the most. And I
well,
don't have, and just in case I'm gonna get hate email, I know my email's out there, and everybody's welcome to email me, because I already got a couple. But just in case, for hate email, I am not anti-LGBTQ plus and all that. I'm not anti anything. I allow everybody, and in my opinion, in their opinion, my opinion, we talk, and you guys can do whatever you want with your lives. It's just that certain behaviors and activities is for adults, and certain behavior and activities is family friendly, and others are just perfectly for kids. So it just depends. And it's just that it's not so much as dressing up in costume is wrong. It's not so much as dancing is wrong. None of those things are wrong. It's just that when you put them together in a certain type of environment, it represents a certain type of aspect. That's where the line needs to be drawn, in my opinion.
well, I may be very controversial when I say this, but I am fine with LGBT, but I'm not pro. I'm against the plus. Because at this point we're making up things and it becomes nonsensical. I understand the idea of someone who's lesbian, bi, trans, and gay. Those I understand completely.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
the fact that there are many places that now recognize over 26 plus different identities, it boggles my mind, because last time I checked, every single one of those needs to have some. It's so it defies me, because sometimes they can't even define it themselves. And so, how can I understand something if they can't define it themselves?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, you do what you do. I may not be a fan of it, but as long as no one is harmed, and it is in a scenario where everybody is consensual, I have no problem with it. Just leave me out of it.
But we have to understand and realize that kids are not at the age of consent.
They are not the age. Well, see,
And
age of
there's a
consent
problem.
is
Well,
age of
because
consent is.
they stand, because the kids can say, yeah, I'm fine with it. My mom's fine with it. My dad's fine with it. I'm fine with it. But,
Oh, that was actually something I was actually looking up. Actually, when I've been dealing with my learning about schools within the state of New Jersey and laws that are applied to this. Funny enough, it's more convoluted than you might think.
yeah,
So, if I may,
go for it.
so, like for example, here in New Jersey, the age of consent is technically 16, but that's not a hard number. That's a soft number. It's up to 18 if you're dealing with someone of authority, such as a boss or a teacher, or do pray tell a family member, like a parent. Just putting that in a category, but that's just how the law is stated. I'm not suggesting or inferring anything. I'm just saying that's how the law is written. You can do with that as you will. But the number can go as low as, I believe, 13. Now, that is through what's called a Romeo and Juliet law. Or is it 13 or 14? I think it's 13, but it may be 14. I may be wrong. But that is only done with 2 consensuing minors with the parental approval. And that is it. Those are the hard numbers are 13 and 18, but the soft number is 16.
Yeah.
And I would assume that that is similar in other states and countries.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
so
I think in the Middle East they had child brides or something like that somewhere. I
well,
don't know if they still do.
yeah, there are certain countries that still do that. Yes.
No.
Once again, referred to your local laws
Yeah.
and how they are written, because what it may be here in Jersey may be different than, say, New York or Texas or Toronto or London or New South Wales or Tokyo. I mean, every location is going to have their own rules on the books on how that stuff is done, and sometimes they're very convoluted, so you kind of have to read like 2 or 3 pages in.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that the bad guys, that's how they do it. They add a little bit of something on the internet world, and they they inch everything further and further. They're doing the same thing when they want to take away our weapons. They're putting all kinds of restrictions in, and they're making the restrictions a certain way. So eventually, it's going to be to the point where there's no guns, because they obviously nobody is giving them up straight away. You know, when they say, "All right, time to buy them back," or "Time to hand them over," nobody's cool with that. So they said, "Okay, well, let's just start making these little ideals here. Let's start setting things back and." Making it easy, little bite-sized ways of getting you to give up your guns. And it's the same thing with the whole grooming. And that's why Ron DeSantis had the anti-grooming law. He wanted to make sure that the kids were protected, because he knew that
Uh,
that they were going to inch it a little further. I mean, next thing you know, they're going to be okay with kids pole dancing. And like my friend said, they could easily say, "Oh, that's just the kids exercising. It's good exercise for kids." I mean,
but
eventually you're going to have to draw a line somewhere and say, "This is too much." You know?
this is what we call a slippery slope, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, it's Florida. I believe it's up to grade 5, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It might be plus or minus a year from that. Also, when it comes to laws with guns, did you hear what they did in Canada?
Yeah. In Canada, I think he decided to take everything out. Give them,
You
no one can't use anything.
you can't buy, sell, transfer,
Yeah.
transport anything that has to do with any type of firearm whatsoever.
Yeah.
They've literally just taken away all Canadian guns. And
Yep.
they're also talking about how property is not technically a right as well. So they may be going after property soon in Canada.
Well, that's what they want. You to own nothing.
And you'll be happy.
Yeah. And I
Um,
can't imagine that really people would totally go for that, because that's just like living under your parents' roof all over again. When you were growing up, you didn't own anything, and some households you were happy, but other households not so much. You couldn't wait to get out and couldn't wait to get your freedom. So, if some of you who has lived in mommy and daddy's basements for years before you had your freedom, you might understand what it's like with the rules and restrictions and everything, the curfews. And it's like that, only now you're a free adult, but your leaders are trying to do this to you. I don't really think anybody's going to be happy.
true, true, true. So yeah, it seems that there is this normalization of this, and one of the groups I've been really focusing on with the that's me like the last 5 years I've been following this group. Have you ever heard of NABLA?
No, I have not.
NABLA, National Boy Lovers Association.
Okay.
They are for this normalization of this type of display, of a much more sexualized nature for children. And one of the things they're doing is so the term we'll use normally is the term pedophile, right? The term they're trying to use, so this is the 1984 form of Newspeak, when they changed the word, is they call it minor attractive persons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't worry. It's not. It's not. It's just dancing. They're fine. It's just exercise. It's fun. They're just expressing themselves. It's fine. Oh, they know who they are. We can give them blockers before they hit puberty. It's fine. It's that's the whole thing. It's just this normalization of all these things before that child, if they're still a child, understands their body, right? Once they hit the age of majority, 18, or if they are emancipated younger, they're more than willing to do. They're willing to do whatever they want. It's their decision at that point. But before that, and of course, if a parent consents to it, then that's another story altogether.
Yeah.
But I would think that for the lion's share of it's let the child just grow up, mature, understand things, comprehend things, because boy, was I don't know, I probably, every one of us would probably say, well, I thought I knew everything when I was in high school and I was this tough guy or tough gal, and I was a, oh, you can't tell me, I know everything. And then all of a sudden you turn 18 and all of a sudden you're an adult and you're like, I have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it takes that long for you to admit it.
Well, you know, it took me until I was about 25, 26 to admit it. But by that time, you know, you've already had about 10 years under your belt.
Yeah. Well, it's just that my concern is that when adults definitely say that it's okay and all that, I'm concerned for children to just go along with it, not realizing what they are doing, actually, not totally understanding what's going on. And
Yeah.
they're just, following something they've seen on TikTok or whatever they've seen on YouTube or whatever social media. And kids are very impressionable. They're easy to mold and to shape into certain directions. Um, and there are some kids out there that say they don't want to do it, but their mom and dad are like, come on, we're going to do this, you know? So it's just that there has been many interviews of those who have been forced to change or be a certain way, and they have regretted certain surgeries that they were forced to have. They finally grew
Yep.
up and they didn't like what was happening to them when they were younger, but they
Yeah.
felt like they didn't have a say because of their parents' wrath, if you will.
Yep.
So I think it's just best to just simply wait. See what the
That's
kid
him.
wants to do with their life. They have plenty of time. You're only a kid from what? From, well, your baby all the way from sperm and the egg till what, 18? So, you have just that short window of being really young and discovering things. Once you're an adult, you can decide to do whatever it is you want to do. If you feel that that's the life you want to go, then go for it.
Yep. 100%. I completely agree.
Yep.
I mean, but then again, you can't rent a car until you're 24 in most places. So.
Yeah. Well, they got tired of people taking joyrides to the sporty looking ones.
I don't know. Anyways,
we were gonna talk about Kavanaugh.
Yeah. Well, just one last thing before we move on is so little small story. I was walking through my local shopping mall, and I was over by the Hollister that we have in the mall, and and right now we're dealing with Pride, which it's June, Pride Month, and I was noticing that one of their posters they had outside had this group called GLSEN, GLSEN. And GLSEN happens to be one of these groups that are really forcing this this change of curriculum here at least here in New Jersey, that has to do with this type of content we're talking about, but within the educational scene. I believe they want to go as young as kindergarten, but there's massive pushback on that, and I think that's starting. And it really is up to the school boards exactly how that does, but I just wanted to bring that up real quickly. So
Yeah, are you talking about I mean, the whole grooming curriculum?
the ones that they're bringing to the schools, yes.
Yeah. I just don't think
Yep.
that should be
Oh,
a topic in school.
no, just just teach, uh, you know, basic life skills: reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and whatever they want to do within their career path later on. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. It's amazing that we are absolutely right here. I mean, it's just, I'm saddened to see it's come to the point where parents find it normal to, find a 5 or 6 year old kid and to put, money in somebody's underwear. I'm sad that we're there now. We're gonna have to
Well, and
put a stop to it.
I find it to be sad that the FBI is currently looking into school boards and seeing parents who are enraged at these types of things, and they're saying, "Well, these parents might be a risk to maybe a danger." I'm like, no, these parents are just angry because of the stuff that they're happening to their children.
And parents have the right to speak out because it's their kids in the establishment, but they're naming the parents terrorists for not going along with the narrative.
They're paying taxes and when it comes to school taxes in the first place, so they have all the right to say anything.
Yeah.
But anyways, you wanted to bring up Kavanaugh? Justice Kavanaugh?
Well, actually, yeah, you and I were kind of discussing briefly about it.
Yeah.
So you know a little more of the backstory of what's going on, but apparently they don't like the fact that he exists right now because he's tilting a scale and not in their favor, the bad guys' favor. And so I know they want to take him out so that the scale would kind of be balanced off. And I mean, they do want to try to find a way to shift the power back to them because right now they're losing the game. It's because the Patriots know their playbook. So they're having a hard time keeping their chess pieces on the board without even having it to fall off.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah, we have a 9 justice Supreme Court, and the conservatives, quote unquote, air quotes, huge air quotes when I say that, they have, I believe, 5 members. Yeah. Let's see, Alito, Gorsuch, Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, Roberts, and oh my God, Thomas. Yeah. And then on the other hand, you have Breyer, you have Kagan, and you have Sotomayor. And also Breyer will be leaving by the end of this year. So instead of Breyer, you're going to have Ketanji Jackson.
Yeah.
So, and what's funny is that so you had these pro-choice groups protesting in front of different justices' houses. By the way, side note, that's a federal offense.
Yeah.
That's breaking federal law by doing that, but that's okay because you could do that.
Well, so, apparently Pelosi approves of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, if this person that they arrested earlier this week, who was from California, flew all the way to Maryland, went to his property, was arrested, and literally said that he was there to kill Justice Kavanaugh. That was what he said, to kill him.
That sounds like a rage. That was a serious long rage drive, if you will.
Well, this is the reason why I think we need the same security we have for Congress and the president. Yeah. The Supreme, if we're going to have an equal separation of power when it comes to these 3 branches, I think all 3 branches should have the same security. There's no reason, I don't think one, especially the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the highest court in the land. These are the people who literally say to the president and they say to Congress, you can't do that. That's against the Constitution. You can't do that. Sorry. Nice try. Try next time. And they can strip things down. I mean, look what they did with the with OSHA when they try to mandate mass vaccination through your workplace safety code. They said no.
Yeah, they were actually even going to go. I mean, it was on the list that they wanted to go as far as knocking on everyone's doors and nailing people down and, giving everybody the jab. That was literally on the list of things to do, but I wasn't going to go that far anyway.
Well, that's why you had the Supreme Court saying, no, you can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, if they weren't there, that's how far they could take things. It would have been horrible. Well, I mean, but that's the beautiful thing about owning guns. That would be a very dangerous job.
No, the only reason why the Second Amendment exists is to deal with a corrupt and tyrannical government.
The founding fathers knew about this. They knew that we would need to defend ourselves at some point or another.
I mean,
and they knew that the type of guns, the type of weapons would change over time. They understood that, the future was going to be different, but they wanted the amendment to always be relevant to no matter what kind of time has changed.
An arm is an arm, and we're not talking about the two that are on your shoulders. An arm can be any type of tool that is used to defend yourself, and it's a tool. A weapon is a tool, okay? If you don't do anything to it, it won't do anything. It will just sit there on the floor and look menacing. Yeah. But it's not just going to set itself off unless you have made any modification to it that makes it do it there in the first place.
Right.
And of course,
and just to be clear, bare arms also doesn't mean sleeveless shirts and clothes. I'm just letting you know. Just making sure we're on the same page.
We're talking about anything.
Yeah.
Can be considered an arm, and the fact that they're trying to restrict this is just the only time a government would want to restrict that is if they're trying to become that.
Yeah. And they're going to do it little by little. They're going to take a little bit this way, a little that way, and presto, you won't have your guns. And that's what I mean. I mean, they're because they tried to take it away straight out by saying, hand it over. Nobody was going to do that. They said, okay, well, how about we buy it back? Nah, nobody was cool with that one either. So now they said, well, let's start restricting, red taping. And they want to do this red tape thing, which that would be absolutely horrible.
What do you mean, you said red flag? You're talking about red flags?
No, they wanted to put some sort of red tape, the type of gun and how it is or something like that. They wanted to change something about the 2 mags or something like that, or
they're changed. So they actually have that here in New Jersey, where it's a like, for instance, they have laws that on the books here which says that you cannot have more than 15 rounds in a magazine.
Yeah.
Or 10 rounds in a magazine, which if you have used any firearm, any like rifle or a carbine or anything like that, 15 rounds is nothing. But that's what they want.
I think they're trying to shorten it. I think they were trying to shorten the rounds to the point where we were kind of joking. They said, next thing we know, they said they're only going to allow 2 bullets per gun or something.
Well, what they're trying to do is they're doing licensing, which there are states that have licensing, and then they also want to increase the background checks and everything like that, which I have no problem.
And that's the red tape I'm concerned about, though, because that's fine. You want to do background checks, and you want to make sure that the person who's buying it is stable, but the red tape that I'm concerned about is they made it sound like that it's up to them to say that you are deemed worthy of having a gun, because if you follow a certain type of group or a certain way, they could say you're mentally unfit easily, and they could take it away. That's what they're aiming for.
That's called a red flag law, and many states have
Yeah.
that, including we have that. We have that. It's so with a red flag law, what happens is that basically what you can do is that you could go to someone who owns a firearm. You can go to a judge, and they say that person is mentally incompetent. They do not use that. And if the judge agrees, they can say that person cannot possess a firearm. The police can come, and they can confiscate the firearm, and you would not be allowed to buy it again.
So yeah,
until
red flag law. Okay, I'm
red
going
flag.
to stand corrected. Okay, thank you.
It's a red flag. Yeah.
They can make it to where they could just point anybody out, almost like a Salem witch
Oh,
trial,
well.
point out to get people's
It's,
guns taken away.
well, it's kind of like a grand jury when it comes to court, because the saying when it comes to a grand jury is that that you can even convict. The saying in the grand jury is that you can convict a turkey sandwich because there's almost no representation in it.
Yeah.
Which is true. You don't know when someone goes to a judge to file a red flag claim. You don't know about it until it happens.
Right. And I know they're still working on trying to make it more and more restricted though.
Yeah.
And they're gonna it's basically shortening the leash more and more is what they're doing.
Well, it's the difference between a massive fatal blow all at once and death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. Well, they're picking on the NRA for that same reason.
Which I'm actually never been a big fan of the NRA in the first place, because they've done a few things here and there. No, but apparently the NRA is the only firearm appreciation group that exists. Because even though they're not, there are other groups out there that do things, and they're actually better in the fact that they believe in constitutional carry. Which is a thing.
Yeah.
It's always the NRA, right? But they never talk about other lobbyists.
Yeah.
Look how fast we didn't talk about Big Pharma after things happened. All of a sudden, that was not a thing anymore. Anyways, yeah, but we're dealing with these different rules. They have bills currently on the floors of Congress to try to restrict things. I wouldn't be surprised they try to pass them. I don't think they're going to go through the Senate. But even if that happens, that's another reason why they wanted to go after Kavanaugh, because eventually what would happen is that it would go to the Supreme Court, because there would be a lawsuit. They would sue. States would sue, or individuals would sue.
Yeah.
And they would probably go to the Supreme Court, which then there would be a precedent. Not a president, but a precedent. They're spelled similarly.
Yeah, well, they know what's coming down the pipeline. That's why they're trying to get ahead of everything. So I mean, even they're doing all sorts of stuff, and a lot of it is that we have to be able to separate the false flags and the distraction and all the things going on. I think the whole thing with the club and the handing money and the whole costume dancing thing, I think that was more of a distraction than anything. Really, the meat of the situation is we have to keep an eye on what is going on with the the human trafficking. We have to keep an eye on that. We have to keep an eye on what the president is doing, which he's not really doing it. It's Obama in the basement pulling the strings and somebody pulling his strings. So we have to keep an eye on what's important. So, but I know that we wanted to touch on those subjects because people have been asking about it. The biggest distraction and the waste of time of our tax dollar award goes to the January 6th committee, in my opinion.
The non-select committee.
Yeah.
Which non-select? That's interesting. That doesn't sound democratic.
Everything they say and do, but everything they say and do, everything they have labeled, has literally been the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
So even the January 6th committee is not there to investigate because they left out a ton of things that were important that would have easily tilt the boat in the other direction. So
Well,
it's
not no, no, go ahead. Sorry. No, I think the worst part about this whole situation is that they have literally doctored evidence, and they misquoted or they completely misrepresented the argument, and it just like
and they had teleprompters.
this. Yeah. Last time I checked, Congress doesn't have teleprompters. Smile for the camera. They're doing this for ratings now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was something.
Yes, it is.
So, it's just that it was just a whole, I mean, it's just lately we've been seeing a lot of distractions. So if they're kind of a shit show after shit show after shit show going on, then that the distraction, and we know that there's a lot of false flags going on. There's people out there and as that are also expressing themselves in many ways, shapes, and forms. And a lot of the expression that the people are doing, and this is just my opinion, of the community on the left or the brainwashed or however you want to say it, the sheep. It's not polite to call them that, but they some of them has actually gone as far as expressing themselves. There was it was on Instagram. Rob Schmidt from Newsmax. Apparently, someone decided to try to use his vehicle as a toilet dumping ground for their human waste. Somebody decided to bathroom behind literally his car. So apparently a lot of expression going on. There are some people that are very displeased about how the world is, and they're going around beating up people, just randomly, just beating up people that walk on the street. Totally
There is good news, though. There is good news. There is actually very, very good news. I want to. I want to actually. There is fantastic. You heard about the news in San Francisco, though, right?
Yes.
With the DA, the district attorney.
Yeah.
He was recalled.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. He was recalled, and the reason I'm saying it's fantastic was because he was the district attorney that was allowing the crime wave all over San Francisco. And also, another thing is that he was literally raised by members of the Weather Underground, which was a far left radical group that literally believed in the violence against the government. We're talking about members such as Bill Ayers, if you've ever heard that name, or the what's it called? The Black African Conference or something like that. They were a militant black supremacist group. I gotta figure out that name. That's not the name for it, but anyways, his name was Borea. DA Borea was recalled with over 60% of the vote in favor. Now remember, this is a deep blue area, and he was a Soros-backed candidate and district attorney. That's like a huge shot across the bow, seeing that San Francisco had enough.
Yeah, but not only that it does bring in pain, but it also brings in information, because a lot of times people just see names of people, but they don't know anything about them other than the flowery talk, maybe just to get themselves voted in. But now when they get caught, when they either get recalled or something, then information about them comes out, like what type of organization. And a lot of times people are not familiar with what organization they're from or who they're connected to. And so I think this is also part of an awakening process when they go through these sort of things, which is good.
Just a correction, by the way. The group is called the Black Liberation Army, and also the Black Panther Party is connected to Weather Underground.
Yeah, but isn't that also connected with the BLM and Antifa?
Well, they just had to change the name.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, when you hear that the leaders of BLM were trained Marxists, and they said this in news interviews, it's kind of irrefutable proof at that point that that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, they're telling all of us what they plan on doing. Even at the World Economic Forum, they were talking about exactly what they want to do with us. And you can see some of it already being played out. So it's just that they're working towards, having this whole reset thing. But the problem is they're accelerating their stuff. They're accelerating their violence. They're accelerating their plans. And so it's starting to make everything look obvious. Unfortunately, this entire summer, I have a feeling something serious is going to go down. Isn't Congress going to be out of office for the summer or something? Are they going to be in recess for the summer, I believe?
Oh, you're the summer recess?
Yes.
I believe that's in August, July, August.
Okay, I thought that they were going to have a recess something soon. It's because the reason why is, you know how when it comes to the weekend or the evenings, that's when problems start to happen, and that's when businesses are shut down, so you can't call them and say there's a problem. Um, and it just, whatever's going on, especially, when illnesses or sicknesses, it always happens in the evenings and the weekends, or accidents happen on the evenings and the weekend, when doctors are not available. So it's just that things are, and I don't know, I get this feeling that when they go to recess, they're going to allow some serious stuff. My prediction, I could be totally wrong. I just have a feeling that they're going to try some sort of shenanigan to where when they're not in session and there's nothing to, they kind of give us the feel that there's nothing we can do about it. They can't like call for an emergency meetings and whatever. Yeah. Most of them will be on vacation.
Well, yeah. So the congressional summer recess starts for the House on July 30th, and then the Senate will be in session for a week longer, and their recess starts on the 6th, and then they'll reconvene on the 6th of September, which is the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
So they have about a month of recess. And let's see, because I'm looking at the congressional calendar at the moment while I'm talking to you about this. And this is a very important year considering it's a midterm election season, and these power players in office right now are not doing so well. In these primaries, you have these America First candidates who are winning their primaries left, right, and center. And they are going to be putting up a big fight come November. In fact, yesterday I was just at a fundraiser for my local candidate running for Congress. His name is Darius Mayfield. He's running for 12th district here in Jersey, and he's actually running against Congresswoman Bonnie Washington-Coleman, who is part of the squad. The squad.
Alex, I think you cut out.
Did I cut out?
Yep, you cut out as soon as you said the squad, and you went silent.
Yeah, so he's running against Bonnie Washington-Coleman, who's part of the squad, and members of that. As I was saying, members of the squad: AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, well, what do you do after you're done throwing the kitchen sink and you don't have anything else to throw? I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right.
So, what was your answer to that? Well, what do you do when you get done throwing the kitchen sink and there isn't anything else left to throw?
You start throwing floor tiles.
I was just wondering because I mean, the bad guys are trying to throw everything they got. Be warned, guys. This is gonna be an interesting summer, and don't be surprised if they decide to roll out another virus and another what else? Lots of other shenanigans. A lot
You
of
see
other
some?
things that they're gonna try to trend. If you see them start trending on TikTok and you see it start trending on Facebook, Twitter, and everything, it's probably there for distraction purposes.
Also, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
So,
not everybody's horrible or corrupt. There are very good
no,
members
yeah.
of the police and members of our different justice departments that are actually doing good work.
And there's a lot of people that are in office that are, that are on the side of the people. It's just that we have to expose the ones who aren't.
Exactly.
And it's going to take a while. It's absolutely going to take a while. It's but we want people to be able to watch how this all plays out so it can never happen again. See what happens when these certain elites, what happens when they do these things. Remember, it's just like an infiltration. If they infiltrated our hospitals, they infiltrated our schools, they infiltrated our all the workplaces, they infiltrated TV, movie, they infiltrated all of social media, they infiltrated our food, everything. They infiltrated absolutely everything, including the justice system. It is very hard to pull it out, pull out these types of corruption. And the best way to do it is to wake everybody up because, yes, there's more of us than them.
Also, suppositories are very useful, but
They're getting kind of big.
well, you look at a small little krillfish oil tablet that's tiny, you're saying that's not that bad, which is literally a red pill, by the way. But when you start getting these horse pills, then your eyes start bugging out. They're like, well, am I really going to have to swallow this?
Yeah.
It gets more, it starts becoming much more imposing after a period of time.
Well, here's to the red pills getting bigger. Exposing is what we do.
Exposing to what we do, it's part of the...
Exposing the corrupt politicians, the deep state, the bad guys. There's going to become to the point exactly what it was said that one day they're not going to be able to walk the streets. Everybody's going to be totally pissed at them. And there's already a lot of people that are mad, the ones that have already had their heads stuck out.
Yeah. Yep. And there are people who are going to do alligator rolls after a while.
Yeah.
They're going to be violent, and they're being violent. They're getting
Well, they've
worse.
already threatened us. I believe, was it Lori Lightfoot? I believe she threatened us, and I believe that we're supposed to have some sort of I forgot the name of the act. It was that they were going to have some sort of a street fight.
Yeah.
That they want to instigate on us. So they talked about, and Biden, he was the one that talked about the mini revolution. So he basically, it's kind of threatened us, if things weren't going to go his ways, he was going to possibly have a mini revolution. So that sounded like they were talking about, some sort of a street fight that they have been talking about for the last couple of years that they want to impose on we the people.
Exactly.
So on a lighter note, though, we are winning. We just got to be patient. There is a light at the end of a tunnel. And, we just got to keep working on it. It's just one of those things. We have to fight for this planet. We all kind of fell asleep at the wheel, and this is what happened. You got to play catch up.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. All right. So, should we get a wrap up on this one for the week?
I think so. It's,
All right. I want everybody to have a good and safe weekend. Those who decide to listen to this during the week, have a safe week. And, Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And once again, thank Katie for allowing us to be able to have a voice. Because we've been censored and demonetized like crazy. And so it's good to be able to talk about these sort of things. If anybody have any questions or dilemmas, feel free to email us or message us if see us on Facebook or Twitter. And I'm also on Truth Social.
all my links are going to be on the bottom of the description for you guys to look at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel free to shoot us an email or meet us on any of the social medias. We'll be more than happy to talk with you guys.
So with that in mind, lots of love, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Have a good night. Take care.
Lots of love. Bye.